other things that need to be done in order to make sure that if we're moving towards the construction of a parking garage, that's actually occurring. We're shepherding that project directly through. We're shepherding it on behalf of the CDC so that we can keep the board informed. We're shepherding it on behalf of the community because if somebody stops Jim or Kurt on the street and says, hey, what's going on in the parking? And we haven't, it's been 2 weeks since we met, they can say, well, call out trees. So we want to be able to be a resource for information not only for you, but for one another as well as for the community. Because when you devote money to this economic development department, which is what I'll call it, essentially that's the sort of the issue. If we were an economic development department, there would be an organization chart describing relationships, who would answer what. And quite frankly, I don't see that as an option in all this, just so that there's a clear understanding of how that's happening. Because we really want this to transcend individuals. Because if I'm no longer in the CDC, somebody's got to take over the role of parking. If my communication is with you through the streets department, because that's the committee that you work with, and you're not there, we've got to make sure that void gets filled. So it needs, the process needs to be fluid enough to handle the transition of people, but it must be sustainable so that it handles the work project. Fair? And once we agree on what those projects are, I don't think that from us, streetscapes and parking are the two most important things. In spite of the heat, the Blues Festival was a tremendous success. Had it been a cool August day, you wouldn't have been able to move downtown. Good problems to have. So, as we move forward in those things, as we prioritize, because if tomorrow we're presented with an opportunity that pushes parking to the bottom of the priority list, we need to be prepared to handle that. And when I say we, I mean everybody in this room, we need to be able to adjust and adapt quickly enough in order to be able to take advantage of those things. And we're kind of in the uncharted waters here because we know what doesn't. Fair enough? So putting something in place and having regular meetings and beginning to create a workflow, I think is the important outcome of what we would like to see in order to go to the next step, which is to start to have those meetings and begin to put more substance to exactly what it is. I mean, in order to do that, we need to identify what the projects are. Then we need to identify people associated with that. You obviously already have a structure dealing with that. We need to integrate ourselves into that.
And you and I spoke last week about the fact that we need to know what projects we're currently working on. We need to know what projects you guys are even thinking about in the future. And then council themselves need to come up with a list of maybe projects that they see that they'd like to see involved in. We don't have that. And we also discussed the fact that we probably have to set up meetings. There should be a meeting probably every couple of weeks. Not meaning that we'll need them every couple of weeks, but I'd rather have them scheduled and cancel them and try to gather a group of people together on a moment's notice for an emergency type situation. And that's the only thing, from my point of view, that's the only thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for a way for us to take this group and that group and meld it together and get the job done, like we can get the job done, and without the hitches and glitches that we've had in the last couple of months.
The other thing, and this is, we've not discussed it, but we're going to have to stop at some point using the term revitalization, and we're going to need to actually start to use the word sustaining. Because there will come a point where we will have succeeded. And then we have a different set of things and a different set of problems. So, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later. Because that's the next, that's from a transition standpoint. The CDC is, you all have elections. The CDC's contract with Barry runs through December of 2008. So there are transition points that we already know about that we need to be, none of those things can catch us short. And those are the things that in private business, if we don't adapt, we are dead. And that's the downside of the private industry. from a government standpoint, government just needs to go on. And sometimes government goes on in spite of itself. It's, no offense.
I think
I expect some time to roll, you know.
you really get November 15th date for the CRP application of your head, did you really do that?
You know, there's periodically I have to hold 1 year shut. 1 year shut. Run out.
I just got a letter today about that.
You probably need to arm right. I need to
Can I just clarify something on that point in regards to Mr. Wagner's question? You mentioned, okay, you come to the report of council, here's the project, here's where we're at. Now, if something happens on the Wednesday after the project, after the meeting, you're not going to wait for the following meeting to come in.
No.
That's where we're going to work.
Wednesday.
Exactly, okay.
Right. And to the extent that when you know, you see me, you see staff, or you see the whole board. Because depending on the importance, I mean, and we all understand the value of relationships. And it would never be, I don't think, it would never be the CEC's position that we would bog anything down. We don't want this to be, we don't want it to be hers, we want to streamline.
Well, I think what I'm hearing is a clarification of the actual monthly CDC process when you come in and report to council. Because at one point what we had is we handled what we could up through a meeting. And then that monthly report would be, if we recall, we come in and say we need a council decision on this or a council decision on that. So we handled what we could, but you're talking, I think, about making more specific reports on each project, indicating what we've done, what roadblocks we hit, we're able to these, and here's where we need your council's input.
Right, and I think, you know, one of John's constant concerns was the fact that the CDC did a terrible job of touting our successes. For people who have never been in Phoenixville, you could drive down the street and you'd be wowed by it. Awnings, colorful people, bands, music, food. For people who've lived here for a long time, progress is even more dramatic. So there will be action items, and sometimes we need to do a better job of telling people what we succeeded in doing. And we need to keep the short list of, hey, here are the things that we need in order to keep this group that. So,
What I'm saying is I want that monthly meeting from the point in time so things do get behind because they're doing it once a month. Now, we're going to be working throughout every day to keep things moving.
ours are going to be our expectation.
Part of the problem that I spoke about when we were talking about setting up these meetings is the fact that one of the things that has to come out of these meetings is a responsibility list. I mean, someone at that meeting, whether it be borough staff or somebody else, we get the responsibility to get something done. And they have to get it done in that time frame, or they have to come back and ask for an extension and have a reason why. Then we all have to decide that we're going to be able to accept that time frame.
Right, and you know what's the other thing? Some delays are going to simply be unavoidable. There's nothing you can do about it. To the extent that they're preventable, great. To the extent that they're unavoidable, I think clear communication, the fact that we're off